Warning.
The opinions expressed in this content are those of the host and its guests.
Services allow
10, 9, 8,
Every call is
7,
ballistic.
6,
Things the fire service can't stand here. Safely created new account.
3, 2, 1.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Tales from the Tailboard podcast. On TFTT, we have honest conversations about the job and what follows us home. This isn't about hot takes or highlight reels. It's about mindset behind the uniform. Today's guest is Sheridan Ryan, firefighter, NRP, FPC, and now instructor, a 12-year firefighter starting as a volunteer at just 18 years old, rising to a young captain. And it's not just about the resume, it's the leadership philosophy. Citizens first, crew first, and investing heavily in the next generation so they don't have to learn everything the hard way. Sheridan, welcome to the show. Let's get into it. Go ahead and tell the listeners who you are, where you come from, and what you do in fire and EMS today.
So, my name's Sheridan Ryan. I come from North Texas, up in the DFW area. Currently live in New Braunfels, Texas. I work for a department called Coppers Cove Fire right now. Great department, great people. Started off my career as a volunteer, like he said. As I was telling them earlier, I got into this kind of on accident. My whole goal in life was to go into the military, but I had asthma, and the military told me, that wasn't happening. So I had to figure out what to do with my life, and I dove headfirst into the fire service at a very young age, at 18 years old. Had a lot of poor leaders that showed me the wrong way, and then I had one good leader pull my head out of my rear and show me the right way, and he's my mentor. And he showed me how to basically be a leader. I promoted underneath him all the way to captain. I was actually the first paid personnel of that department, and then after a while he went his separate ways, and I stayed for as long as I could before I went mine, and then I started working in EMS and fire all over the state and found myself here, so pretty excited about it.
Awesome. And guys, you may be seeing a new face on the podcast as well, besides my guest, Sheridan Ryan. You're going to see Isaac Good. He's a friend of mine. He's a co-host. Isaac, will you please just tell people a little bit about yourself and why you decided to be a co-host today?
My name's Isaac Good. Started at Limestone. Was there for about 4 years. Went to Chanute, Kansas. Was full-time there for about a year and a half. Fire service runs in my blood. Been through my entire family, and it kind of was decided for me before I was even born at that point. But yeah, I just happened to come over. He said, "Hey, I'm about to do an interview," and told me about Sheridan's video, which I watched 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And so I was like, sure, I'll hop in and do your little guest host for the first time ever. So
Yeah, and I told Sheridan, I was like, I wanted to bring you on because I get joked on by Good over here a lot, and he's like, when are you going to stop interviewing EMS people and start interviewing firefighters?
I do.
I'm like,
that.
okay, fine. Like, it's not my fault that the majority of people that say yes are EMS people, and it's like firefighters are more reserved, and they're like, no, I don't want to come on.
Well, even in the fire service, like even in a big city, rural city, anything like that, like 80% of our calls are medical. Let's be real about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can fluff it as much as you want and say, oh, we fight thousands of fires every year, but it's like, okay, cool. But how many EMS calls did you run? You know, like that's unfortunately in the fire service, you can't get away from EMS. Even if you're just a first response engine, you're going, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So unless if you're a part of a state task force that only fights 10,000 acre grass fires, you're going to medical calls. So it is what
like
it is.
BLM, Bureau of Land Management. They're out there. Just that's what they do.
Yeah, TFS is what we call it over here in Texas. But yeah, I mean, if you're even when you're in TFS, you're still going to natural disasters. So you have to sometimes do medical. So I mean, it is what it is. It's a name of the game, and that's what people have to understand. If they don't like it, they just gotta deal with it because EMS is the name of the game. More people suffer medical emergencies than their houses catch on fire.
You could also be a part of FGS. We don't run medicals.
Yeah, he's Good started his company called FGS Flame Guard Solutions, and we're doing prescribed burns. The only other company we can think of that does this is out west Oklahoma. So,
so y'all
we're trying to bring
y'all bill for like wildland stuff?
We
Well,
Or
we're
like,
not a fire department. We're just a personal crew that will come out and you can pay us to, burn off horse pastures, piles,
oh,
pretty much
that's
whatever.
cool. That's a smart.
we're
That's a smart
land
business to get
management
into.
company.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah,
for sure.
he's the owner and the boss. I just happen to work beside him to make sure he doesn't get sued.
Yeah, there you go.
Hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it hasn't happened yet. Sheridan, I saw a video on TikTok. Isaac Good mentioned it, and it's where you're sitting in front of your people and you're training your class. I mean, you are an instructor; it's what you do. In that class, you mentioned something that sticks with me. I mean, off the top of my head, the first one that comes to my head is we don't need to train for something until we get it right. We need to train until we can't get it wrong. So those types of situations stick out to me. And when you'd said this line, you said it's something you learn in Fire One. You said, I'm trying to make sure I don't screw this up. My bad. But uh, go ahead. Sorry. What was it you said in the class?
The risk a little, save a little part.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you were just before that.
So,
You were talking about like risk. Like is it savable or livable? And then you
oh
went
yeah, savable
into
and livable. So between structures of if is it savable and livable, or is it survivable and livable? Like you show up to a house, it's a 2-story house. You got, 3/4 of it involved with heavy smoke pouring out the rest of it. You have to really take a step back and see is it savable and is it survivable? And you have to. It's a deeper question than what a lot of people like to think about because yeah, in your mind, if you process it, you can save anything if you have enough resources, if it's not too far gone, you can
Mhm.
save a part of that house. But in the volunteer fire service or even in the paid fire service, how many resources are you getting within that first 5 minutes of you getting there? If you're the first engine on scene and you got 4 guys, how much can you do with 4 guys? And then how much help do you have coming? Is this doable? Or are we
Absolutely.
putting ourselves at even more, risk of making the situation worse by downing firemen, getting firemen hurt, not concentrating on exposures except you're trying to concentrate on the actual fire itself. So it's just a lot of when you get into these company officer decisions, you have to make a lot of quick decisions really quick, and you have to have sound judgment and sound comfort, I guess if you will, on those decisions that you're making.
Hmm. So let's kind of breach on that just a little bit because you mentioned, being an officer. What is it like for someone who necessarily doesn't take command all the time, but like for someone out in our county or volunteer department, you may learn so much as to when you go on scene, even just a firefighter, you don't have any officer role. You're not a captain. You're not a lieutenant. You're a firefighter. You may have to go, 612's taking Main Street Command. And at that point, you're essentially IC with no training. I mean, how
Yeah.
many times have you been put in that type of situation?
A couple when I first started. Thankfully we had a chief that was very active. He was very active in the community. He was very active with us, and he would have his radio on all the time. He also worked full time for a neighboring department, so he would tell me, "Hey, it's C shift today. If you get something, I want you to immediately call us."
Hmm.
Yes, sir, will do. And so he would be coming in on an engine as a captain or a brush or whatever he's on. But I knew that he would, if when he got there, he would be able to rectify the situation if I could not. Thankfully, he gave me the trust and the knowledge at a very quick, rapid rate to really take care of things and handle the situation where he didn't really have to take very many things from me. The things that he did take from me, I handed him because it was like, a multi-story apartment building fire or something that is way beyond just my knowledge to a single family residential structure,
Hmm.
that back then, this was back in 2014, you know what I mean? So, this was way back then. Wait, I say way back then. Way back then for us young guys, right? Like, cause I'm still young. I'm only 30. So, but it feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
Um, Continuing on your question, you have to really dig down as a company officer, especially at the captain level, a chief, an assistant chief, somebody who is making decisions like that. if it was me, I would try my hardest not to put a young firefighter in that position to where, and obviously nothing's perfect, especially in the volunteer world. You don't know who's coming to the station to run a fire and take command. But if at all possible, try to have some sort of plan to where maybe the first year probie isn't going to be taking command of a fire. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Because there is a lot of liability to that, both for the citizens, the citizens, the property, and even your crew. Because if he's one bad decision away from wiping out, half your volunteers.
Oh yeah.
If something goes amiss. But that's why we rely heavily on so hard on the senior guys, even in the fire service or the volunteer fire service. Sorry. Just because Peepaw, who's a farmer, has been on the fire department for 20 years. But doesn't have any training, that doesn't mean he doesn't know, like, he's seen a fire or two. He's done a thing or two, you know what I mean? And maybe, even though you may have your fire 1, fire 2, you may have your EMT, maybe you do have to hand him that hat and say, hey man, you're going to command this thing because I don't know what to do. And you have to know your limitations as a young fireman. And that's what I think a lot of people, especially young firemen, don't understand. It's what I didn't understand is there's going to come a time and place where you're not going to know, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to not know. You're learning. You're young. You're new. That's the fire service in a whole is learning. If you're not learning something every day, then you're doing yourself and your team and the entire city that you serve or community that you serve a complete disservice. Because if you're not out there training or practicing or trying to find out what you don't know, then you're not progressing. You're just in a stagnant state, and there's no room for that in the fire service, my opinion.
No, I mean that's perfectly put. That actually leads us into our first main question. Did you have anything to add before we get into that first main question? Is there something you wanted to ask?
No, okay. My bad. You?
No,
Yeah,
you're
sorry.
good. You're good. But just before we ask that main question, sorry, I'm fostering a new baby at the moment, so my brain's a little fried. But now that I remember what we're, that whole topic there, you said you got to risk a lot to save a lot, but understand that risking a lot means death, or it could mean death.
It
right?
could mean death. Absolutely.
So
I
can
think
you breach on that? Can you tell me like I mean, because the way I'll tell you what I heard from that. I heard that you have to be trained. You have to know what you're doing. You have to be, you can't just put yourself in that situation going, I'm going to risk a lot so I can save a lot. Okay, but can you physically perform what you need to perform to save a lot?
Yeah.
Or are you putting yourself in death's door?
I don't think a lot of people understand a lot of people understand the risk a little, save a little. If you don't put in effort, if you don't put in, the time, if you don't do if you don't risk very, very much of anything, you're going to lose that house, and you might lose whoever's in that house if it's occupied, or even adjacent structures to it that are exposures, But if you risk a lot, I don't think people understand what risk a lot means. They say, oh yeah, we're going to go in there, we're going to kick the door down, and we're going to go in there and fight all this fire. But when you're risking a lot, when you're putting yourself in those tight situations, especially in young firemen, I don't think they've really come to terms that this job can kill them.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think I was invincible when I was a kid. That whole "it would never happen to me" thing, 100% was on me, man. Oh, I'll go in there, I'll slay the dragon, do whatever I can, knock it out and call it a day. Until that one time, something went amiss and I had to bail out a window, and it was like, oh, I could have, that roof came in right on top of me as I was getting out the window, and I was like, oh shit, like that could have very well killed me. And it made me take a step back and realize, like, risking a lot means that I could die, I could become a vegetable, my wife could be a widow, my kids could be orphans. If people don't think about all these things. In the moment, it's tunnel vision. You're just going in there and you're going to, I'm going to save this person. Oh, I'm going to save this structure. And I think a lot of people don't quite understand what risk a lot means in my perspective.
What it means to me, if it makes sense, because I'm going to lean on your 12 years of experience, and please tell me if I'm wrong. But, I'm not married anymore, but I was. And when I was married, my wife at the time told me, She's like, you know, you're putting yourself in dangerous situations to not be home. I said, I knew what I was doing when I signed those papers to become a volunteer. I know that one day I might fight this fire and I may not come home. I'm putting my life for others. Now, it doesn't mean that every single fire I go on, I'm just going to die. Obviously, that can't happen. But I know what to expect if I'm going into that fire. I know
Yeah,
what could happen.
exactly. And I think a lot of people need to have that mentality and that thought process because a lot of people, in my opinion, don't. A lot of people think that this is the adrenaline they chase, especially young kids. They
Exactly.
chase the adrenaline, they chase this, they chase that,
They think you're being
and
selfish because you're
Mhm.
chasing a high, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, I'm not chasing high. Like, I'm putting my life up for
So
others because that's what I want to do.
so let me ask you this, and this is a personal question. You
Oh,
can
feel free.
cut this or whatever if you don't want. But were y'all married after or before you joined the fire service?
So after, so I joined the fire service after I was married.
So you started after you're married?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So did y'all have the conversations that needed to be had whenever you decided to join into the fire service? Like hey, this is what this could lead up to. This is, stuff like that.
No. And
Okay.
we can touch on this if you'd like, but just to touch on it briefly, I was going to go to the Air Force. I'm a full-time aircraft mechanic by trade. That's what I do for a living, 40 hours a week, right, even right now.
Mhm.
I go work on airplanes. The idea was to go into the Air Force with a 2-year degree, be a crew chief, eventually get my 4-year degree, go OTS, go fly. Didn't, I'm not thinking to be, a jet fighter, but I was going to be, put me in a helicopter, put me in cargo. I don't care. I want to fly. Then she's like, I don't want to be traveling the world in the Air Force. I want to be by my family. I said, okay, I'll try reserves. Well, reserves, then I hear about firefighting. Okay, cool. Maybe I can firefight in the Air Force. Then she basically essentially tells me that she's going to divorce me if I go full-time service in the Air Force. I don't do that. I choose my family over the Air Force. And then I think it was less than 6 months later, I heard, I was listening to 102.3, which is like talk radio for politics and stuff. And they
Mhm.
mentioned that 85% of the nation is volunteer firefighters. And
Yep.
I went, what the fuck? I was like, 85% of our nation's firefighters are volunteers. And granted, I'm 25 years old. I didn't know what an EMT was. I mean, I knew there was people that showed up at your house that, helped you out. But literally at 25 years old, I didn't know that, hey, they had specific titles as EMT, paramedic, I knew,
Yeah.
and, growing up, I never went to a hospital. It was, I went to my family physician and that's what I did growing up. But, I learned about firefighting. I get into it. I start volunteering with Limestone with Isaac Good over there. And to show you how much I didn't know about it, volunteering at all, when I showed up and they were all dressed nice and I was dressed nice to go to this so-called interview, I thought I was fighting them for a non-paid position.
Yeah.
Like I thought I was interviewing for a non-paid position. I did not know that I was going in and all of us were being hired.
Oh yeah.
And I told him, I was like, that's how naive I was.
Well, that's
And
crazy because you're not all that naive. Even whenever I volunteered, I had to do an interview, and I could have very well been told no
yeah,
because that is something that I didn't expect to touch on in this podcast, but that is something that we do need to talk about. Is we do need to be more selective, even volunteer fire departments. Just because you're hurting on numbers doesn't mean you need to invite everybody and their grandmother into the front door and give
I'm
them bunker gear and put them on a truck and say go have fun,
I'm glad you
because
said
that
that
is
because that's what I wanted to ask about regarding that factor was, does that mean we need to be selective even though we're hurting for numbers?
quality is always better than quantity. Um, you could have 10,000 broken iPhones and it don't make a damn if you don't have one that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're gonna have to have a working iPhone. You know what I mean? I We were very selective in my process especially whenever I took it over as a captain. We had interviews. We had a panel interview. We had a physical agility test. Um, we had a chief interview after that with another officer also sitting in there. So like me and the chief would interview, and we'd have a one-on-one with them and really see why they wanted to do this. Because here's the thing: even though we were reimbursed by the state, we would send them to fire academy. We would get them all their we would send them to EMT academy. We would send them to fire academy. We would get them certified to where they could leave if they wanted to go be a paid fireman somewhere else and not volunteer. But we made the culture to where they wouldn't want to leave. We
Oh, yeah.
made it to where this was a fun job. This was a fun place to be, even though you're only making a stipend volunteer made like $100 a shift, a 12-hour shift. So that's less than $10 an hour.
Yeah.
Um,
Hell, we didn't even make that good.
but
We got like what $2-3 a call, maybe if we were lucky.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I think we made 5 per medical and then like 8 per fire call.
Yeah. So, but we made it to where we hired in good people, and then those good people didn't run off everybody else. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Because you
100%.
always get those bad
Culture.
apples that
Yeah.
come into the fire service. You always have those volunteers that hop from department to department to department to department because something happened over here and they got butt hurt and they left, or they got caught. They got caught over here, taking someone else's bunker gear or taking something that wasn't theirs or something, and they got let go from there, but they never had any paperwork to back it, so you didn't know about it because it died and buried with them, and and then you hire them on our department and they're doing the same shit, and that's just not how we were.
Absolutely.
That wasn't our image for the fire department. When I first got there, it was at my first department. It was very sketch, very, very sketch. I remember vividly my first structure fire I ever went into. This was a crazy story. This man that I'm about to tell you about is dead now, but he was a badass dude. He was a grapevine fireman. He was actually a truckie, an engineer, or a driver for the truck. But so this fire goes, and I'm in another town next door or next over, and the pager goes off, and I'm like, and it said structure fire. I was like, structure fire, holy crap! So I get in my truck and I shoot over there. By this time, all the stations cleared. We got one brush truck left in the station. Me and this girl, no fire experience. She has none, and neither do I, to be frank. Like, I had a little bit. I fought like a couple grass fires here or there, but this chick had none. Didn't even know how to put on an air pack. Found this out at the fire. We hop in this brush truck, and I said, hey, you ready? We're going. So we boot. We take off. We go to this fire. By this time, there's mutual aid there. Everything's going crazy. There was a handicapped lady, supposedly, that lived in this house. She had MS. So we didn't know if she was in there or not. We knew that she was bedbound because I ran a couple medicals there. And so this is what I arrived to. I arrived to trucks everywhere, probably 5,000 foot of hose laid on the ground. I've got a guy climbing up a ladder with a saw, and he's not on the roof. He's on a ladder leaned up against the A part of the house on the delta side, and he's got a saw, and he's cutting this triangle into this side port of the attic. And my first thought process was, what? That's not very safe. And as soon as I said that, the ladder gives way. Boom! And he falls to the ground, dislocating his shoulder. And I'm like, holy shit, are you okay? And this dude gets up, puts his shoulder up against the corner of the house, and pops his shoulder back into place. He's like, well, that sucked. And then he went, laid the ladder down, and just started breaking windows, which was completely the wrong thing to do. By this time, the house is now completely fucked. There's fire blowing in all corners of this. So I turn around, and I'm like, hey, throw your air pack on. We're going in. And this chick's like, I've never packed out before. And I'm like, this is a terrible time to know about this.
Well, you are now.
So I put the pack on her. So the pack's on her. I'm all packed out. I've got all my mask. Everything's on. I'm trying to get this shit on her. And I put the mask on her face, and the seal didn't break. And so she's like, feeling like she was suffocating. She's like, I can't do this. And she takes the pack off. I'm like, all right, forget it. This ain't going to happen. So I walk over to the incident command, and I was like, hey, man, I need somebody to pack out and go in with me. We got to make sure this house is clear because there's somebody who's physically disabled in the back of the house. Thankfully, she wasn't home. She was at a doctor's appointment when this caught on fire. But
good luck on that.
Out of nowhere, a minivan rolls up. And out this minivan comes this old man, gray, fairly obese, and he grabs his bunker gear that says Grapevine Fire on it. And I'm like, who the fuck is this? And he throws it on. He walks over. He grabs the pack that she had, picks it up on the ground, adjusts the straps, throws it on, gets the mask. He's like, what size mask were you? And she's like, small. He's like, this will never do. So he goes to the engine, grabs a large mask, puts it on his face, seals it. He's like, you ready, kid? We're going in this house. We're going to go sort some shit out. And I was like, what? Okay. And we went in this house. And I remember we made it about 30 feet in the door. And I've got the nozzle. He's got the hose and a pike pole. And he's feeling around, and he looks up, and he pokes a hole in the roof. And he's like looking through this peephole that he just poked, and fire goes out and then sucks back in. He's like, nope, this ain't going to work. And he pulled me out. And about that time, part of the roof collapsed on the other end of the structure. Wasn't where we were. We would have been fine. But after that, we went back in again. We fought all this fire. Got it knocked down. The whole house was a total loss. But, I mean, we did what we could. Then we salvaged all our medical equipment. We salvaged a bunch of shit. And then he just got in his minivan and left. And I was like, who the fuck was that guy? And they're like, oh, that's Mark. And I'm like, who the fuck's Mark? They're like, he's on the department. He has cancer. He just got back from chemo. What the fuck? Like this dude just got back from doing chemo, showed up, heard the fire was going on, showed up in his minivan, put on his non-department gear from our department, and just wrecked house, and then just got in his car and left. It was a crazy experience, man.
The fact that everybody was so casual about it.
Well, back then, that was just how they were. This was before the new chief took over. And that was how it was. They were a slab saving department. That's what they were. That's what that whole area was when your house caught on fire, we were going to show up in our pickup trucks with our gear in it with no fire truck, and we're just going to break windows and fight fire. And there was no rhyme or reason. There was no organization. There was nothing. It was just sheer chaos every call. And that's what, when I became a captain, that's what I had to correct. Yeah. Still trying to learn how to be a fireman myself, but I had to learn how to correct that. And with the help of that chief, we corrected it. We did a lot of one-room burnouts and mobile homes, dude. Like, we were doing some wild, off-the-wall shit. We'd go in on double wides, single wides that were, quarter involved, half involved, and we would stop it because we were very aggressive, and that's just how we were. And
awesome.
I wouldn't have had it any other way.
So talking about you being a captain, you led right into the great first question here. Starting at young in leadership, you became a captain at 23, which is rare. What were the biggest challenges of leading older and more experienced members at that age, and how did your mentor shape the leadership style?
So it was definitely hard on many occasions because, one, I didn't have a mustache back then. You think I look young now. You should have seen me without a mustache, bro. I look like I was 12. Like, literally, even as a primary, and I know this is off topic, but even as a primary care paramedic, like, I would show up to people's doors, and they'd be in sheer respiratory distress pending failure. They'd be taking their last breaths, and they'd be like, why is this child in my house? Is he even old enough to be here? And it's like, actually, ma'am, I'm the one that's in charge of taking care of you. And that would be the last thing they heard before I tubed them, Like, it's crazy.
Last thing they heard when they tubed them. That's insane to think about that.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. But, it happened. So in the fire, so it wasn't that hard to progress to a leadership position there because I'll be honest with you, we got rid of a lot of the old guys. Because they had that, we'll never change, we hate change, it's not good, we want the department to remain the same mentality. And the chief was like, no, we're not doing that. If you don't like it, if you don't like this change, there's the door. And it sounds shitty to put it that way. But in order for us to progress and grow, we had to chop off that cancer.
So I was one, not really the old guy, obviously, but I'll say it from the new guy perspective, and Isaac can probably vouch for this one. But I end up leaving Limestone area, which is like a Owasso area, for Sperry because I moved to Skytech. And what I had, baby's crying. Sorry, I'll cut this part out. But what I had learned in the process was. I walked in Sperry and I was like, well, I remember doing it this way at Limestone. And they're like, well, this isn't fucking Limestone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it was there. We had to really lay down the law, and we had to get rid of some good people. People who I thought were good people. Like, I would go have a beer with them and stuff like that. But just in the fire service, they just weren't. They weren't what we needed at the time, and it was a cancer, because when you get someone new in that department and you have that negative, toxic person just bashing the department, bashing the chief, bashing the captains, that cancer spreads to that younger member. And then that younger member spreads it to another member, and that one goes to another one. And it became a huge problem. And we had to lop that cancer off before it spread to somebody else, because we could not form the team and and we couldn't have the growth that we needed. To put it in perspective, we were still a volunteer department. We ran 1,480 calls for service as a volunteer fire department. So divide that out into 365 days. That's, let's see, 3, 6, 9, 12, over 4, probably about 5 calls a day. And a lot of them were fires. We had a lot of vegetation fires. We had a lot of structure fires. Majority of our stuff out there was mobile homes and manufactured homes. Mm-hmm. So they were catching on fire left and right. We had industrial. We had Fort Worth right to our south that we actually went to Fort Worth a couple times to come help them with the fire. And it was crazy, man. And it's nuts, because as a young officer, thankfully, going back to your question, sorry, I go down rabbit holes. Thankfully, when we let go of all those old people, I had nothing but young guys, younger than me or my age. When I left that department, when I got on that department, all my friends went with me from high school. So it was all buddies who I knew. There was probably like 10 of us that all went to high school together. And so we were all respectful to each other. We cut up, we gave each other shit, like we busted each other's balls, but like everybody knew, like, hey, this dude knows. He got me here. This dude knows what's up. And so it was fairly easy. That was when I came back. So funny story. I wasn't always this way. Growing up, I didn't have a dad, a father figure for a majority of my life, and so I was very much not adulting well at 18 years old. I had the mentality of probably a 14-year-old. And so when I got on the fire department and I was with the old regime, I talked about cancer. Well, they spread this cancer into my brain of like, oh, paid guys are bad. All they'll do is talk shit about you. This is the way we do it. We're always doing it this way. We're never going to change. Stuff like that. And like, fuck authority pretty much. And when this new chief came in, I was very hostile towards him. Anything he'd say, I'd do the exact opposite. He actually fired me. I got fired from a volunteer fire job. And I turned my shit in, told him to get bent, and I left. I went to a neighboring department, and that's when all my friends joined over. And so I was over there by myself on this little island while all my friends were having a good time talking about, how great this place was now and how it's starting to change. And I was like really sad. So 6 months later, I turned tail and I came in there and I was like, hey, chief, like, I really want my job back. Can I like come back? I call it a job. I want my volunteer fire spot back.
At least
and he
you were
sat
humble
down.
about it.
Well, I had to be, because he was right. He was right. I was a piece of shit back then. But this dude saw something in me, and he gave me a lecture. He lectured me for about 2 hours about how I'm going to change, and how if I don't, it's the same thing. If I don't get on the bandwagon with him, that I won't make it here. I won't last here, blah, blah, blah. And then he walks over to this closet. He opens the door, and in a trash, not even a trash bag, like a Christmas bag, was all my clothes folded up, my uniforms, my bunker gear was sitting next to it, and he rolled it out. He's like, I was wondering when you're going to come crawling back here. And I was like, you motherfucker.
You smart ass.
but then after that, dude, complete dynamic shift. That man taught me how to do my taxes. That dude taught me how to talk to girls and not be a little shit about it. Like, he taught me how to be a man. He taught me how to be a father. Like, he taught me how to do so much.
It's weird what our fire families do for us, isn't it?
Yeah. Not even just being a fireman. Just being a good human being. and it carried with me. And so I carried that with me, and I carried that same mentality of, hey, I was once a fuck up. I didn't deserve to be back there. And I carried that, and I used that to train people who were also disheveled or um, lacked confidence or lacked encouragement, you know. And so as a young leader, I just led foot first, man. I led in front, and it took the fall whenever things went wrong. It was my fault, you know. Told my guys, hey, we're going to work on this, and I just gained the respect of the people who I led
So
to
that
the
leads
point
into
of
the. Go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go
Oh,
ahead and
to
finish
the
that talk
point
about it, but it leads
to the,
into like the second question of citizens and crew first mentality.
yeah, we'll get there. To the point where when I left that department, my tailboard and my driver stepped they both got promoted to lieutenants. They nobody else on any other shift got promoted. Those two got promoted to lieutenants. They downed the captain spot, promoted 2 lieutenants instead, and that's what we had, or that's what they had after I left.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how good I'm not going to say good of a leader I was, but that's how much I had preached to them and tried to lead them by examples that they took over the reins when I left. And it was great to watch them grow and see it. Now, granted, neither one of them are part of the department anymore. They both moved. One moved on to a paid fire job, and then one's a rescue medic. But I mean, it was very crazy to be a leader at such a young age.
So, do you think that has anything to do with like you being the adult you are today?
Absolutely, I would not be the man I am without that fire chief. 100%. You know, I wasn't a very religious man. I actually, it's crazy. Um, a short time after that, whenever I left, so he left. He went and got a paid fire job. He actually, to what a great leader this man was. We had budgeting issues because we were in ESD. I don't know if y'all know what an ESD is, Emergency Service District. I don't know if y'all have those in Oklahoma.
It's a Title
But
19 in Oklahoma.
okay, yeah, so it's an same thing. So you tax based off of property value. You get some of that revenue, and you pay for the fire department, right? That's
Yeah.
what we were. But when we got the ESD, we taxed it. You could tax up to 10 cents on the dollar. We started out at 3. Well, we were doing such a good job at 3. When we asked for 5 or 8 or 10, they kept saying no because they're like, why? Y'all are doing such a good job with 3. Why would we need to give you more money? We shot ourselves in the foot. And long story short, it got so bad that we couldn't pay our guys. And Chief Caster had laid all of he cut his paycheck in half and gave it to us just to keep us in the house, just so we could feed our people. That's the kind of leader he was. But one day he pulled me in the office and he said, hey, you know, I'm going through a lot of crisis right now, you know. I feel like I'm not being heard by the commission. Nobody will listen to me. I can't make the changes I want to make. I don't think I could do this anymore. I think I'm going to leave. And he's like, and what you do is your business. He's like, but I will not be here anymore. And so it's up to you to man this department until they find a chief. So technically, by fault, because our assistant chief was AWOL because he was going through a divorce, I was the head guy. I didn't have the title of chief, but I was the person that was having to answer questions and come up with things. And that was a very scary experience as I was 25 at that time, just became a paramedic. And it was wild. But
So,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, my kid's crying, so I'm gonna let Isaac get into like that citizens and crew first mentality. I'm gonna let him ask this question, and then I'm gonna take care of her real quick. So,
Oh,
and then
you're good.
I'll be right back. I might
Okay.
obviously cut this part out, but Isaac, if you will, go ahead and try to just breach on that whole like citizens and crew first mentality for me.
Okay. Um, you said citizens and crew first?
Yeah, so like the question is,
Okay.
you've mentioned leading with citizens first and crew first mindset. What does it look like in real world decisions when making those priorities, when those priorities are tested?
If you don't mind, I'll hit on VEIS more than anything.
Take it.
Okay. So I assume that you've done quite a bit of VEIS and everything else.
Do what? Sorry, you broke
Oh,
up.
you're good. Um, have you done a lot of VEIS, like
Oh
personally?
yeah, we've done VEIS, VES, we've done it just depends on where I've worked, but we've done both. It just depends on the fact of the matter. What's on fire? Is
Yeah.
it occupied, unoccupied? Do we know? Is it possible that someone's in there? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Squatters, everything like that. You have to throw into everything into effect of what you're gonna do.
Yeah. How do you think command should balance that with, fire tech?
Well, there's a lot of things to take into it. You know, how many resources you have? Are you able to do VEIS? Or are you even able to do VES with what you have right now? Um, what your experience is, what your comfort level is. I always ask my guys, what's your comfort level? Um, it's actually something I got off of Only the Brave, the movie, when they're about to do something wild. I don't remember. They're about to go I think that was whenever they were saving the big tree or something. But he turned around, he said, "Hey, what's your comfort level?" And
Mm,
they're all like, "We're good." And it really hit home with me because I'm like, hey, I never ask my guys what they're thinking, you
yeah.
know. It's always like, hey, this is me. I'm making this decision. This is what we're gonna do. And it really it hit home with me of like, hey, maybe I should ask the input from other people because maybe they are even the youngest guy
Yeah.
um, on the crew might see something that I don't see. Maybe he sees that Boeing roof. Maybe he sees the propane tank that's literally 3 feet off the back of the house. Maybe he sees, you know, that there's a window that's shattered and I didn't see it. And now we don't have a negative pressured house anymore. You
Yeah.
know, stuff like that. So you
I
really have to
actually,
ask the what. Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you kind of have to assess your crew and assess
Hmm.
your resources and really make that decision on the fly of what you're going to do and the experience that you have on that first arriving engine.
Yeah. I can go into a story. I actually had a captain ask us one day, not really ask, it was more of a, here's this. If you feel comfortable doing it, go for it. If not, I'm not going to knock you on it. Um, so I was on a department in Kansas. We would typically, on paper, we'd have a 5-man shift.
Hmm.
We had a 15-man department plus a chief. That was us. And we covered,
Okay.
I think, like 140 square miles or something. I mean, you're in Kansas, and we're like one town that's between Coffeyville and Wichita. Like we're
Yeah,
the one-stop shop in
you're
between those two
you're it.
spots.
You're
Yeah,
it in between those cities. Yeah.
yeah. And then we're still surrounded by, you know, thousands of acres of just open grassland.
Yeah.
But my my lieutenant at the time actually was off that shift, and he had an interview the next morning with a bigger department in the city, and so we're running 4 guys, and how we do it was during the day, all 4 guys were at Station 1. You know, we hung out together, we ate together, did all of our chores and stuff together, all that, and then at night we'd split. So we had a driver and a captain at Station 1, and then it was typically a driver and a lieutenant at Station 2. Well, I
Yeah.
had a driver and then me at Station 2 that night, and it was about 1:30 in the morning. You know those calls where you're up all day and then you wake up and you think you hear something and you're like, all right, cool, let's go.
Hmm.
Came in, we thought it was a apartment fire. One apartment.
Yeah.
We've run to this apartment complex almost weekly for fire alarms. And so, but it came in, confirmed fire, and so we're like, awesome. You know, let's go. Show up, kick the door in, put it out, come back home, whatever.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Easy peasy.
I was like, Tower 1 en route, and dispatch goes over the radio, and they're like, copy you en route. You're responding to a fully involved apartment complex. You have people trapped in apartment 214, 213, old woman and a dog in 101. And I
Oh
looked over at my
shit.
driver, And I was like, I thought this was an apartment fire. That was the quietest ride I have ever been in a truck to a structure fire in my life.
Oh, I'm sure your ass cheeks. I bet there's still a crease in the chair from your ass, bro.
Oh, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because
That truck will never be the same. That upholstery's done. It's doomed.
oh yeah. Yeah, I needed to change my shorts before we got there.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had a response, so from page to out the door was less than a minute. And then from out the door on scene was like a minute and a half. It felt like it was a
Pretty
20-minute response time.
Oh yeah.
Because,
yeah, it probably felt like ages.
oh yeah, and every 10 seconds, dispatcher's going over, and they're like, hey, we had a call from this apartment. There's a woman and her son. And we're like, holy shit. And so
what'd y'all do?
well, so engine one got there about 30 seconds before we did. And the first thing my captain said over the radio is, I need ladders. I've got people jumping off of balconies, and people are throwing their kids from windows.
Wow.
We're a small town in Kansas running a 4-guy shift. That's what we've got. Yeah. And so immediately I was like, all right, we just need to throw ladders. We showed up. I went ahead and hopped out, wrapped the hydrant, and then booked it on down to the complex. And we've got PD and EMS just kind of standing there, and they're like, what do you want us to do? I handed PD a Halligan, and I said, those apartments that are not on fire, go make sure nobody's in them.
Yeah.
Sent them an EMS to do that. And so we met up with my captain, and he's like, hey, if you don't feel comfortable, I get it, because, I mean, I'll have him text you a picture later of what it looked like pre-arrival. It was nuts. The fire had run completely through the 3rd floor. And he was like, if you don't feel comfortable with it, I'm not going to force you to, but we've got people in these apartments. And so me and my driver just kind of looked at each other, and we're like, yeah, let's go. Now, that was the most slow motion, chaotic anything that I have ever experienced in my life. You know, they had all that crappy blow-in insulation in the attic. Wind was ripping it. And so it's literally just raining fire. And you're kind of sitting there just looking up going, what is going on? And unfortunately, that ended up being, there was one on the 3rd floor that even by the time engine one got there, there was no access to that apartment. We made a push up the stairs, and then that was it. That it was completely involved by the time we got up there, and so we got back down and called it, and then about 20 minutes later, we ended up pulling a 98-year-old female out of a 1st floor apartment. That craziest thing in the world. Her apartment was here. This apartment was on fire. This apartment, the 2nd floor had collapsed into it, and her bedroom was fine. But she ended up, I think she passed away 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah, that's hard, man.
Yeah.
But you know, what are you going to do? You know, there's, even if you would have had an on-call system where you could have called in another, 4 guys, 5 guys, what are you going to do? Like, even with Fort Worth, that's a 3-alarm fire. That's at least 10 engines, 5 trucks, 2 BCs, a deputy chief, and whoever else, and even then that would have been a hard time to get a wrap around that fire.
Yeah.
Let alone you and 4 guys.
Like the same kind of thing. Before we keep rolling, I want to give a quick shout out to IndusShift Apparel, their first responder owned brand that actually understands the culture, the long nights, the dark humor, and the pride that comes with the job. If you want gear that represents the fire and EMS mindset without being corny, check them out. You can find the link through my channels, and every purchase helps support creators and conversations just like this one. All right, let's get back to the episode. Thanks, guys, for your support.
Do what?
Are you saying if it was like the same situation he was in Fort Worth, that'd be your response to it?
Yeah, that's what I would assume. I don't remember what Fort Worth would respond to with that, but I mean, it would be a lot more than 4 dudes and 2 trucks. You know what I mean? An engine and a ladder.
Well, and we called mutual aid, and so we called mutual aid from Thayer, Iola, and Parsons, Kansas. It was still
Yeah, but how
45
long did
minutes.
it take for them to get there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Running
And
code, that's still 45 minutes down the road.
yeah, and we did an all
And that's
call
if
for our
that's
guys.
if they're in the station, you know?
Yeah.
All those places are volunteers, so you got to wait for them to get from their house. They got to wake up, get their shit on, go
Yeah.
to the fire station, get more shit on, get in the truck, start the truck, let the truck, because you know they ain't started
Air
their trucks
pressure.
that week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they got to let their air pressure get up. Then they got to get on the road. That thing, if it's a 1962 clapped out engine, it probably goes 45 miles an hour.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying you got to put all these things into effect. But that's where you're talking about VES, VEIS, and the whole question that boiled down to it is you have to know a lot of things. Like, who am I calling for mutual aid? How long will it take them to get here? Are they staffed? Who's on the truck?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're, I'll say this once and I'll say it again, being on the roof is probably one of the most dangerous things you can do if you're not trained on it.
Mm-hmm.
And if something happens to you, are there people there that are experienced enough that can go in after you? They're probably going to be recovering a body anyway, but at least they can bring you home to your family so they can bury you. You know what I mean?
And for the love of God, let's not use the excuse, well, I learned it in Fire 1 class. That's not good enough.
So I don't know how clear it'll be.
I learned how to I learned how to. Oh yeah, I can't see it. All I see is just fucking orange glow.
That's pretty much all we saw too, actually. So
you're just gonna have to just text it to me. You can get my phone number from him, dude. I'm all about like networking, so you can just get my number, text me those photos, tell me, hey, I'll know exactly who you are. But
yeah, that's pretty much all we saw too, was just orange. So
I was going down a rabbit hole of something and I forgot what it was. Oh, Fire 1. Yeah, I also learned how to change a sprinkler head out of a fucking building in Fire 1, but I don't do that shit every fucking day, do I? No. You told me to change a sprinkler head in an industrial complex right now. I guarantee you I'm going to fuck that shit up. We're going to have a broken pipe.
Okay, so that leads me to a good thing here, and Good, you're gonna rag on me for this, and I don't care.
Probably.
Because we talked about an old fireman about this, and it's like, listen, your transcript can be 3 fucking pages long, but if I can point to anything on that damn transcript and you can't tell me how to do it without messing up, you don't fucking know it.
No, I agree. No, I'm not gonna roast you on that. 100%. I will be the first to tell you I do not know everything about the fire service. I don't. I know I don't, and I never will. And if I do, then I need to retire.
That's exactly what they tell you.
If I think I know everything,
yeah.
If I think I know everything about the fire service, I need to get the fuck out because I'm going to get myself or somebody else hurt because I don't. Everything is always changing. Building construction always changes. Codes always change.
Well, it's like in your video, you had the other guy that was there training with you, and he said, "How many of you guys know what balloon frame construction is?" Nobody raised their hand.
Yeah,
exactly. Nobody was talking about it.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he's from up north, and so he had to deal with these before he moved to Texas. But also, that guy's been fighting fire since dinosaurs roamed the earth. Like, I shit you not, I'm pretty sure he was on a wagon at some point, dude. Tim is a good dude, but he is old. But he will still whoop ass and take names. I watched him do it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there was multiple things in that video that I took away from it, and I was like, damn, this dude's. I need to talk to this guy. I need to get his fucking perspective on shit because this is what matters.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I got a lot of hate on those videos because
fuck them.
Yeah, I know. No, fuck them. But people are dumb, bro. Like what we just talked about. Literally, that town that you worked in Kansas, you do things vastly different than what I do in Texas. But that's the cards you're dealt with.
Yeah.
That's the cards you're dealt with. That's what you have to do. That's what the city can only afford 4, 5 guys on a shift. You got to do some cowboy shit.
We need to stop acting like the fire service is a cookie cutter situation because it's not.
That's not. There's no one-stop fix for anything in the fire service.
Just because Tulsa Fire does something really great doesn't mean Boston Fire does the same fucking thing.
Exactly. Fort Worth Fire does it different than Boston. Boston does it different from New York. New York does it different from Tallahassee. Tallahassee does it different from Tampa. It's all about different resources, type of construction that you have in that area, the experience, the apparatus, the equipment. You can't do truck ops off of a truck that has. You can't do a high rise ops off a truck that's got a 60-foot ladder on it.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. Not a high-rise operation. You know what I mean? You got to have certain equipment for that.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that equipment and you're not accustomed to high-rise fires, then you're not going to know what to do in a high-rise fire. Or you're going to do something vastly different. You're going to use engines and standpipes and everything else. That's not the wrong way to do it. That's just the way they do it.
Yeah.
It is
Now,
what it is.
When you train or do any kind of like skill testing for yourself at the station on downtime, do you do it with gear on or gear off?
Oh, gear on.
Okay. And
Why are
then Isaac brought this up the other day when we were just hanging out the other day. He was like, he goes, and fucking do it with your gloves on every time.
Yeah. If I'm gonna do it in the field, like on an actual fire with my gloves on, then I'm gonna be training it on it with my gloves on. I'm gonna be putting my regulator on with my gloves on. I'm gonna put my back on with my gloves on. I'm gonna turn my bottle on with my gloves on. I'm gonna put my pack on with my helmet on. You know, you have to know, and you have to build routines. That's the biggest thing I tell my guys is if you train the way you do it, then you're going to do it. So you have to build a routine of however you put your gear on: pants, hood, coat, helmet, gloves, whatever, and then pack or pants, hood, coat, pack, gloves, helmet, however you do it the exact same way every single time, so you know it's built into your brain that when you get out of the truck, that's how you're throwing your gear on, and just like that, you've accomplished something. At least you got your fucking gear on before you're captain.
Okay.
You know?
So do you put your mask on with your regulator already attached, or do you attach it afterwards?
I'm old school, bro. I hook my regulator to my mask and I let it dangle. Because I don't know, because like what we talked about earlier, if I'm the third arriving ambulance, I'm probably going to be on RIT. And so why am I going to be standing there like a bump on a log, can't hear shit, can't see shit because my shit's fogging up? I'm going to let that shit dangle, and whenever something arises where I need to go in or I need to do something, I can just put it on and go. People might disagree with it. That's how I've done it for 12 years. Yell at me. I don't care. Call your congressman. You know what I mean?
Call your congressman.
I mean, that's the exact same way that I do it, because I'd rather, even if you're first due, you show up, pull the line to the door. Like you said, your mask isn't fogged up. You're not already on air. I've seen a lot of videos where people are on air when they get out of the truck.
You know, 90% of those people that you see those fire cam videos where guys are bumping off the engine and they're trying to pull hose and they trip and bust their face. You know why? Because they're in the AC of the engine driving down the street. Then they get out of the truck and it's humid. It's in New Orleans. You have fucking fog. Now all you see is, I think I'm grabbing the right line. You grab the wrong line. Now you're pulling. You trip over a curb, hit your face on a mailbox, and now what? Now you're not saving anybody because you're fucked up laying in the front yard looking like an idiot. You're going to wind up on YouTube and TikTok looking like a dummy.
Now,
I'm not saying, and if people do it that way, listen, you people on this podcast, when you hear this and see this, I'm not saying don't do that. I'm just saying from my experience, that thing happened to me. I tried that one time. Tried putting my mask on because I wanted to impress my chief, and I busted my ass in the front door. Looked like Peter Griffin where he hurt his knees. Just,
Yeah.
And I didn't fight fire. I sat there like an old fucking beriatric man on the ground. Didn't do a fucking thing.
And then before you know it, your lieutenant or captain grabs that nozzle and says, "Man, I ain't had the nozzle in 2 years. Mine,"
bro.
and then takes off with it.
Yeah, and I'll be damned, But it happened. But yeah.
So, as just another question to get in, just so we can keep bantering topics or whatever. The questions are only just to fill in what we're not talking on.
Oh, we're good. I'm good with whatever.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't have an agenda. I'm not like, it has to be ... It's more like, hey, are we talking? Cool. If not, then here's a question.
Here's some filler questions.
Exactly. So, career progression across disciplines. You worked fire or volunteer fire, paid EMS, fire service, flight, and critical care. How did each step sharpen your skills, and what did each role teach you that the others couldn't?
So, I've always been, like I said, I've always been a fireman. Like, even whenever I tried flight, like when I say I flew, I tried flight for like a week, bro. We had one flight. I went up in the air. We had like a bird strike where the bird hit the helicopter and like shit kind of went haywire. And I immediately was like, nah, this ain't for me. I still have my FPC. I still hold it. It's an international cert, so I keep it so I can go like, if I wanted to move, if America went to shit and I needed to move, I could go to Australia, Germany, wherever, and work because it's an international cert. That's the only reason why I keep it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it when it lapses in 2020, in June of 2026, because it's like $1,000 to recert it.
Oh,
But yeah, the class is like $800, and I think the recert is $300.
And I'm over here
but
saying I want to be on a helicopter. Fuck that.
no, dude, it's flight and I made less money. I think starting out as a flight paramedic, it was going to be like $64,000 a year.
Dude, we just talked about this the other day with I did with my girlfriend. I was like, you know, like I want to be a flight medic, and even if I'm not a flight medic, like I'd be like I told you in the Air Force, I wanted to fly. Like, I mean, I do aviation maintenance for the past 13 years. Like, if I could pilot the helicopter, great, let me do that.
That's who makes the money, are the pilots.
Yeah. And it's like I told her, I was like, but you have to have all these certifications and stuff. They should pay you for certifications. Like, I mean, not obviously. Like when I go back to your 3-page transcript and you can't do it, that's different. But when you're talking about just in general, like, hey, I have to have this certification in order to do this job, then it needs to be said, like, hey, you need to be paid for that.
Yeah, they pay for my medic and my fire, but what is a fire department going to have any use for a flight paramedic patch cert?
Yeah.
I know,
I mean, like if they use it, then they need to pay.
Yeah, for it. Like if we had like a critical care, like a critical care ambulance, like because I did use it for that. Like when I worked for an EMS agency, I was a critical care medic. My FPC rolled over as a critical care cert, so I was a critical care medic, and they held it while I worked as a critical care medic, because the only difference between the critical care medic test and the FPC test is there's like, I think 10 or 30 flight questions. So they down 30 medical questions, they put 30 flight questions in. So it's the same test, they just add flight physiology to it, like Boyle's Law and stuff like that in there, so you like have a clue of what's going on in flight, which it don't make a shit to me, because really that's the pilot's deal, not me. So you know what I mean? But going to your question, I mean, I've learned a lot of things over the years, and it's just kind of been sporadic. I will tell you this much: the biggest mind-altering thing I ever dealt with, where I had to really take a big evaluation of myself, was when I was a paramedic for Fort Worth. It was MedStar at the time. Now it's Fort Worth Fire. They took over, but MedStar, we had over 140 trucks. They weren't staffed all the time, but we staffed at least 70 to 90 of them on a given shift. So I got there while I was a volunteer at the fire department, actually. I got there, I started working, I went to paramedic school. My partner actually made me go to paramedic school. I was an EMT, and I was so good, not to talk myself up, but I was so good at what I do. Like, he would get in there, and I would have everything done for him. All he had to do was type. Like, I did everything. And I remember vividly one day, I walked over, and this lady's like, hey, I'm having chest pain, I don't feel good. And I grabbed her wrist, and I'm like, hey, man, she's an AFib RVR, we got to go.
Oh, shit.
And my partner's like, how did you do that? I'm like, I felt her wrist. It's fast and irregular. It's got to be AFib RVR. I mean, what else could it be? I mean, it could have been something else, but I was right. And she was an AFib RVR. We gave some Dilt and fixed her and took her to the hospital. And I remember on the way back from that call, he was like, you need to go get your paramedic. And I was like, no, all I want to be is a fireman. This is just a job until I can get a fireman spot, and then I'm leaving, bro. I'm not staying here forever. And he was like, bro, you're really good. Like, you'd be doing yourself a disservice, and the people who you serve a disservice if you don't get your paramedic. And I was like, that's kind of heavy. And so I left it at that. I was like, I'll think about it. I went home.
Asshole.
We did a rotating shift like PD. We did a 2 on, 2 off, 3 on, 2 off, 3 off, something like that. So it was like every weekend we'd have a 3-day weekend. So I went back the next day, and I get in the passenger seat of the truck, because he always liked to drive whenever, because he BLS most of the calls anyway, so I'd just fucking stack up on charts while he drove. I got in the passenger seat of the truck, and there's an application on the dash for paramedic school. And he's like, you're gonna fill this out right now, or I'm gonna request a partner change. And I was like, fuck. So I filled it out. And I went to paramedic school, and I graduated the top of my class, and I got my paramedic. So when I got my paramedic, I was in school in 2019. COVID happened. COVID wasn't in America yet, but it was coming.
Yeah.
And I remember we were 80% done with the class or something like that, and this guy called our table, and we had like a group of dudes, and like we didn't fuck with anybody else. We weren't a part of the class drama. We just shut up. We did our fucking work, and that's all we did. Like we didn't dick around with anybody. And he called us in. He's like, "Hey, y'all 5 are the top of the class. I don't know if you know this, but there's a pandemic coming. We don't have time for all this shit. We're gonna fast track you, and you're gonna take your final tomorrow." And I was like,
Oh shit.
the fuck? And so yeah, we took our final, we took our skills, our final, we did everything, and we passed. And we took our national registry a week later, and I passed, and then I went to be a paramedic. So I got tossed into. I was a brand new paramedic, hardly any FTOs, and now I'm beep bopping down 35 in Fort Worth with vented patients on 7 drips.
Oh.
And like crazy shit, doing critical care shit. Because and then on top of that, our staffing dropped to 50%. They hired us, or they promoted all of us. They promoted a big group of us to FTOs. They're like, "Hey, we know you've been a medic for like 6 months, but now you're going to train people." And so now I'm trying to train paramedics how to be paramedics. Well, I'm trying to learn how to be a paramedic myself. And I'm like, this is wild. And we're running crazy shit. What is it? Sears. The acute respiratory, whatever. We were running that. We were running CPRs like crazy. And then after that, Black Lives Matter happened. And, then we were getting just destroyed with violence and shootings and stabbings and riots and people spitting on me. I got stabbed in the leg. I got a pretty gnarly scar on my leg where I got stabbed by one of those window breakers.
Oh no.
By someone who I gave Narcan to, and I turned around for a brief minute to get something, and he woke up and freaked out and stabbed me in the leg.
How'd that turn out?
He went to jail.
Well, how'd your leg turn out?
Oh, it's fine. I just got a gnarly little scar. It's like that big. It's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
I was fine.
My favorite thing about Narcan is I know there's about to be a fist fight. Or I'm
I didn't know that. Well, I didn't know it was going to act so fast because I didn't give it IV. I gave it IN, and I gave it, and I literally turned around to grab a non-rebreather, and I turned back around, and this dude was awake and was fucking mad. And I don't even know if he intently tried to stab me with it. I think he was trying to stab my partner, and he went back like this, and it got me, and I was like, this motherfucker. Anyway, I put him in. I hogtied his ass. He looked like he looked like one of those calves that you wrestle to the ground. And we took him to the hospital, and PD showed up, and I almost had to go to court over it, but he took a plea deal, and I didn't have to go to court over it, thank God. But it was wild. But where I was going with this is, so then all that happened, and then at the time, I had this woman who, she was in nursing school, and I was helping her get through nursing school during COVID. I was head over heels for this girl, thought she was going to be the love of my life, blah, 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 blah. Well, one day, this was when COVID calmed down and Black Lives Matter kind of calmed down, but I was still very much in this like very fucked up state of mind. Like everything was work. They were calling you in overtime every day because we were 50% staffed. Like you were working 90% of the time off 10, and even then you're just trying to recover and keep your bearings. So I was working a shift. In the morning I ran a SIDS case. Kid was dead, nothing I could do. It was actually 2 CPS workers. It was their kid. It was really fucked up, really sad. Which is Child Protective Services. I don't know what y'all call it in Oklahoma.
Same.
Yeah, same thing.
And then I ran a drowning in the middle of the day that I got Rosk on, but then he later died in the hospital. And then I ran a kid who got hit by a car, and the dude got out of the car, thought he hit a dog, turned around. it was like not a quinceañera. It was a celebration of life for this kid's grandma, and they were out front playing tag. Well, when he got hit by a car, all the parents, all 100 of them, were in the backyard. They heard it, and they walked out front, and they saw this kid just underneath the car all fucked up. So 100 people are running at this dude. He freaks out. He gets back in the car, starts driving. The kid's still underneath the car. Hits a speed bump, spits the kid out. I get there, and I remember I was at a Walmart. I was at a Walmart across the street, and I was trying to take a piss. And the security guard, such a good part of town that there's an armed security guard at the Walmart, okay? Like, this place is locked down. And I'm standing there trying to piss, and the security guard's trying to talk to me. And I don't know about y'all. I don't like talking to people with my pecker in my hand. It's weird.
Fair.
Not a big fan.
Fair.
Did you feel safe?
I guess. I mean, I didn't. As long as he didn't tase me while I pissed, I was good, you know. But I'm just trying to mind my own business, and this dude's just talking to me. And my phone, we carried a thing called a Logis. It was a phone, like one of those thick ass indestructible phones, and it went off, and it said Priority 1 MVC. MVC's never come off as Priority 1. It was always Priority 3 or Priority 2. So I'm like, why is this MVC a Priority 1? And then all the notes came in. Autoped, stage, massive trauma, stage, bleeding from head, stage. And I was like, oh shit. Well, I didn't look at the map. So I go beat bopping out the Walmart to get in the truck to go stage we're just going to stage in the Walmart parking lot. And I walk out and I look across the parking lot and I just hear blood curdling scream. And I look and there's 100 people and I'm looking at them and they're looking at me and they're like waving at me. I'm like, oh shit, we can't stage. Like, they see us.
Yeah.
And so I get on this.
Your duty attached at that
Yeah,
point.
I get on the horn, and I'm like, 32, we're not able to stage. Like, we are right here. Like, the people have made contact with us. We cannot stage. And they're like, be advised, like, massive crowd. I'm like, oh, yeah, I see it. Believe me, I'm very, very well aware. So we go over there. So it's all Spanish speaking only. At this point in my life, I know enough Spanish to get by, but not in a chaotic like that situation. So I'm trying to speak the Spanish I know, trying to get this guy. So mom is laid out. So to paint the picture, and you can edit this out if it gets too graphic. I don't know how.
You're good,
okay. So to paint a picture, mom is laid out on the grass because she just saw her kid get smoked by a car. So she's unconscious because she passed out from hyperventilation. Dad is in a fetal position holding his child, and there are 100 Hispanic people screaming at me, saying, do something. I'm trying to get everybody cleared off so we can get a backboard. I'm trying to get the kid from the dad, but the dad won't let go of the kid. I'm trying to ask somebody if the mom was hit too, because I didn't know. The mom's just out in the yard, you know? So I'm like trying to do all this, and this guy got super pissed off. He's like, what? And he was the only dude that spoke English. He's like, do something. Why aren't you doing anything? I'm trying to. I need you to help me. Well, he shoves me. And this is me. This is my downfall. It's something from my traumatic past of my childhood that when someone lays their hands on me, I black out. And I will fight. Yeah. And I remember this dude shoved me, and all I saw was black. And I came back to, and the dude was on the ground. Apparently, according to my partner, I did a leg sweep on him, and I put my hand in his chest, took my leg, put it behind his leg, and down he went. Knocked himself out cold on the ground. I was like, okay, here we go. So at this point, I'm pissed. I'm stressed out to the max, bro. I am redlined. And I've got an 18-year-old student with me as well, a high school student, EMT student. So I throw her in the ambulance. I'm like, stay here, don't get out. I go over, I grab the kid from the dad. I finally, I just pushed him over my foot, grabbed the kid. I'm running with it like a football. And all I feel is just warmth down my arm. And I'm like, what is that? I roll him. It's all of his intestines are all coming out the backside of him. And I'm like, and you can see every vertebrae in his spine. So we get in the ambulance. My partner at the time was the same dude who told me to go to paramedic school. And I told him, I was like, listen, I was like, I know you're the senior medic, but we have to make a decision right now. This kid is dead. Nothing we're going to do is going to bring this kid back to life. But if we call this here, now it's a crime scene because we're in the ambulance. And 2, there's a mob out there that will rip us to shreds. So our best bet is to transport this kid, like it or not, to the hospital, and they're just going to have to fucking deal with it. Yeah. So that's the decision we made. He worked him the best he could. I got up front to drive because at this point I was so angry. I said, hey, man, take this call because I'm not well. I'm not well. I got up front. I said, 32, we're transporting priority to Cook, which is a children's hospital in Fort Worth, and I booked it. Well, while I'm driving, I'm on the phone with Cooks, and I'm like, hey, listen, we're bringing y'all something that's really fucked up, but we had no other option. I'm sorry, this is what it is. We're on the way. And by the time I got there, they had the welcoming arms. We put the kid in there and all this shit, and they called him immediately. I walked out, and I got out of the house, and my supervisor was sitting there, and she's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not okay. I am fucked up." And she sent me home. Well, long story short, I came home, and the girl I was dating at the time she was asleep with her phone on her chest, and it was playing a TikTok over and over and over again. And I don't know what it was. I think it was like a surprise party or something, but there was a scream, and it was screaming over and over and over and over. And finally, I just got so upset, I grabbed her phone, and I went to go shut it off. And when I shut it off, there was naked pictures of her being sent to another dude. And I was like, what in the fuck? And my day is already shit, bro. But this, and at this point, is like, what else could happen, So I had one or two options. I could have woke her up and cussed her out and all this shit, but I didn't do that. I just wrote on a note saying, I know. And I stuck it on the dresser, and I walked out, packed my clothes, walked out, called my supervisor, was like, hey, I'm coming back to work. She's like, no, you're not. You're relieved of duty. I'm like, I don't think you understand. I am not okay. I need to come to work or something might happen. And I spiraled, and that person got me out of a very bad situation. And that was the first time I ever was like suicidal. Oh, the only time I was ever suicidal. But I was very much like gun in my hand, ready to fucking end it. And they wrapped me, and they got me better. And I had to go to therapy and everything. But where I'm getting with this about the most complicated thing is that wasn't just that day, That was so much pimped up stuff that had happened over the course of, at that point, 7 years of, that's just fire service. Not to even mention my childhood, but that was at the time 26 years of just fucked upness that just all came to a head in one time. And I found out that I am not the Iron Man that I thought I was when it came to mental health. Like I had to start getting therapy, and I had to start getting help to really better myself so I could take care of people better. And it's a very dark past. I even to a point where I disowned God, and I talk about it. There's a video in my TikTok where I talk about how I disowned God and how every day I talk to God and I apologize for that, because I was in such a miserable state. I thought, if there was truly a God, why is he letting me suffer like this? And I had to really give myself a self-evaluation to make myself better, I guess, and try to reinstate that relationship with God. So, but that's a dark story. But
I'm glad you found your way back.
Yeah, it's not easy, but that's why I went and got my CISM. I forgot in my thing, I'm also a CISM, a critical incident stress management counselor. I forgot to put that in my intro. So I go and I go and I make sure that people they're not ever in that situation like me where you're alone, A lot of the experiences that I dealt with in life, or why I teach the way I teach, are because I don't want people to feel the things that I felt. Hazing, treated like shit, feeling like just a number in the fire service, feeling alone in the fire service, not having your family, not having your brothers, feeling like you can't talk to anybody. All these things are things that I've gone through, and I try to tell people who I teach, it does not have to be this way. Don't let it be this way. And so, but yeah, that was the most remarkable, like one of the most changing things that I've ever dealt with, being paramedic, firefighter, stuff like that. So
there's another podcast group I would highly encourage you to go on. It's a guy I know by the name of Kevin. He runs a podcast called A Silent War Within. Holy shit, dude! Like, that story would be a good one to tell on that one for sure.
Recommend it. Recommend me to him, and I'll do it, brother. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of the shit I went through. I'm actually very open about it. I used to not be. I used to be very ashamed of it, but I had to tell that story for that CISM class that I went to, and it changed my life because it felt like a burden was lifted off my chest. And now when I tell that story to people, if it can help them, not only is it helping them, it's like crazy helping me. It's helping me like nobody, like you wouldn't understand just talking about it.
It's funny how people like, they want to judge you for talking about your trauma in a sense, but it's like you have no idea how much it helps the person that's talking about it.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
Now I can talk about it with ease. The first time I told that story, I was a fucking basket case, bro. I was falling apart. 100%. But now I can tell it. I can tell it like it's nobody, because it's, I've told people, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. We all go through things. And the thing is every time we show up to work as firemen, we have all that like, oh yeah, like ball busting mentality, stuff like that, but you truly don't know what that dude's going through. He may be busting your balls and having a good time on the outside, but on the inside, that dude could be fucking dying. And him busting your balls and you busting his balls back are the only thing that's keeping that motherfucker sane or alive.
Yeah.
I felt that way about Good.
There is a fair share.
Anyway,
that was a side joke. Sorry.
We gotta crack. Yeah, we gotta get this thing cracking. I got another meeting at 2, so we gotta speed through. I went down a rabbit hole.
No, you're good. I was actually just about to say that's a good part to start wrapping down. So let's do the 5 rapid fire questions. Remember, off the top of your head, don't think about it too hard. First call that truly changed how you see the job.
First call that truly changed how I saw the job. I mean, my first death was pretty rough. Yeah. I mean, I'd never seen a dead body before, and dude rolled his car into a cactus, and I remember we pronounced him dead, and I'm sitting there, and I'm standing over the top of him, and he was ejected. He was in this thick ass cactus. We were trying to get to him without getting stabbed ourselves, and the entire time his phone is just ringing, and I look down, it's his daughter.
Oh shit!
And that was hard, because eventually I had to get that phone and answer that call.
In any interview that you were ever a part of, were you ever asked what they call the dead body question?
No.
So, like, they did that with me at Limestone, and I told them, I was like, I don't know. It's like, so you roll on scene, you see a dead body, whether it's trauma or medical related. How do you respond? I mean, do you act like Superman and say, no, I'm fine? Do you ask for help, or do you say, whatever? I was like, I answered honestly. I was like, I don't know. I've never been in that situation before. I don't know how I would react.
I'd pray now. Younger me wouldn't, but I'd pray now. I pray over the families when I work at Code, and I look around and I see that they're a Christian household. When I call their loved one, I will walk over to them and I will pray. I will gather around with them and I'll pray and tell them, I'm sorry for your loss.
Good. Would
you like me to pray for you? And then 90% of them do it, but it's very humbling. It's very It's pretty crazy. If you've never done it, I don't know if you are religious people, but it's a very down to earth experience because it humanizes you, because you're not just a paramedic anymore. You are a part of them.
I don't pray as much as I should, but I am a religious person. Yeah.
Yeah.
Best leadership advice you ever received?
Treat your subordinates, your firefighters, like if it was like be the captain that you would want your son being the captain or being under.
Yeah, nice.
So do you have a little boy or a little girl?
I have 3 boys and my foster girl here.
All right, yeah. So your oldest wants to be a fireman, right?
They do.
Be the captain that you want in charge of your son. Be the lieutenant you want in charge of your son. Be the chief you want in charge of your son.
That makes sense.
And don't ever forget. I just did a TikTok on this. You'll probably see it whenever you log off and go back to TikTok. I just did something, another voiceover, and it says, be the leader you needed, or be the leader that you needed when you started.
Damn. I like that.
Yeah.
Skill every new medic must master early.
Patient assessment.
If
you can't assess a patient, I'm not talking about getting a blood pressure. I'm talking about doing a full head to toe, knowing your not your H's and T's, but knowing your disease pathways and stuff like that. Like if you can't treat something you don't know, you can't. So you need to know it. You need to figure out what's wrong with them, and you need to figure it out. I diagnosed a PE in the field one day, and it was sheerly off an article I was reading before I got the call. It was about birth control and the COVID vax and how it was causing pulmonary embolisms, and how
shit.
patients were feeling better if they were laying on their in doggy style. They could breathe better. And I walked in. I shit you not. This young lady, probably in her 30s, was like, I can't breathe, and she's doggy style. And I'm like, this is fucking weird. And I'm like, hey, ma'am, are you on birth control? She's like, I am. I'm like, okay. Have you got the COVID vax? She's like, yeah, I got Moderna like a week ago. And I was like, interesting. And her pulse ox was down, but her breath sounds were clear. Everything was clear. Cyanosis in the hands, but like I gave her oxygen, but it wouldn't change. And I'm like, I bet you anything this is a PE. I walked into that hospital, said, Doc, I think this is a PE. And he looks at me, doctors looking at this, no mustache, 12 years old, look 12. He's like, what is this child telling me? I leave. I go run another call. I come back to that same hospital, and the doctor's like, my office now. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what'd I do? And I go in there, and he flips the screen around. She had a saddle PE and 2 other PEs in her lungs. And he's like, that was a good call.
Yeah.
And it was all off of just education, continuous education, and learning patient assessment, and just doing. Don't just do things just to do things. I'm so tired of paramedics and EMTs and firemen just doing the things that they like on just autopilot. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's so annoying. Do things with a purpose, or don't do them at all.
So then answer this one. One habit that separates a good provider from a great one.
Continuous training and mastering your craft.
Yeah.
Just because you get that red patch doesn't mean you stop learning. Just because I got a gold patch with helicopter wings on it, that doesn't mean I stop learning.
No.
You know what I mean? You have to continue to learn. You have to continue to challenge yourself. You have to continue to do better. If you miss that intubation, rehearse. Now we have video laryngoscopy. If you miss that intubation, rehearse that intubation and figure out why you missed it. Look at that video, play it back, figure out what you did, so you don't do that mistake again.
Absolutely.
You messed up on a drug dosage. Why? What did I do? Did I move a decimal wrong? Did I put it in the pump wrong? What did I do? Rehearse it. Figure it out. Gone are the days of, oh, it is what it is. I fucked up. It won't happen again. Gone are those days.
And if you could change one thing in the fire and EMS culture, let's do this broadly. What's one thing you would change in the fire service, and what's one thing you would change in the EMS culture?
Fire service. 100% leadership. And actually no, for both. Leadership. Like, it's going to fall in one hand and one in the other. When we've never recovered from COVID. There are so many other jobs that people want to do now than be a fireman or a paramedic. So many. There's so many other jobs that people can make more money on. Electrician, carpentry, things that aren't as dangerous. And ever since COVID, when COVID happened, we lost, I think, just in Texas, we lost, I want to say 20 or 30% of our medics and EMTs, because they were either all part-time or retiring anyway, and they just let their shit go. And we're slowly, gradually picking it back up, but then these people get these jobs, and then we treat them like shit because they're probies or they're new people. We treat them like shit. We bash on them, and then they leave, and we're like, oh, golly gee willikers. I don't know why we can't hold on to people, or I don't know why we're understaffed. It's because we treat people like shit. We don't humanize them. These people are human. I don't care if they're 18 years old, they just got out of EMT school. That is someone's son. That is someone's daughter. That is someone's kid. That is someone's loved one. And that is a human being who is just learning, just like we were when we were 18, 19, 20. 100%. Or even 30. And gone are the days that we need to start we just continue to bash people because they're new, or because they don't know, or because they aren't picking it up as quickly, because it was different back even when I started. There was technology, but there wasn't as much technology as there is now. Now there's AI and ChatGPT and everything, and these kids are coming up like taking tests with ChatGPT, which sucks. I wish we could outlaw that for testing, but when these kids graduate and they come into the field, we have to teach them. We have to be firm, but teach them. But we don't need to treat them like shit. We don't need to treat them like they're not human. I'm really big on I'm really anti-hazing in the fire service. I think there's time and place for like practical jokes and like
Ball
holding them
busting,
accountable.
yeah.
Yeah, ball busting and holding people accountable. But gone are the days are we duct taping people to backboards and putting them in closets and hitting them with belts, or shoving things up people's rear ends or whatever those people went to jail with not too long ago.
I mean, there's a difference between like joking around, ball busting because you want to, I don't know, maybe in a sense make them a better firefighter, like make them grow up a little bit, right? Or you're treating it like a popularity contest and you're picking on them because they're the fucking low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
Big difference.
It's a huge difference, rapid difference. But that's what I would say for both. It's just we have to start treating people like they're human, and we got to start treating people, give them a fair chance to prove themselves. Because, growing up with a broken family that I grew up in, I didn't come in there with the best confidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I get shit on. Why? Why? Do I really want to do this job for a living? I could go work at American Airlines being a damn flight attendant and make just as much money. Like, why do this job, If it's the only thing that holds the fire service together, it's not the money. Mm. I took a huge pay cut, and this will be another story for another podcast.
Oh, yeah,
but I just left a fire department I was at for only a year because of very poor leadership, and I took a pay cut to go to the one I'm at currently because the leadership was so bad.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
leadership was
was so bad that and they prioritized money over the safety of their crew, the safety of their people, the safety of the civilians. It was a fire department that did transfers, hospital transfers, and they would send transfers out and leave 6 people to cover a city of 7,000 people with apartments, industrial, commercial, and 6 firefighters. Apartment fire would have happened like yours. We'd have been the same situation, standing out there with 2 ambulances and a fucking engine. Like, well, don't know what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean, when I finally leave aviation, I'm making $30 an hour right now. But when I leave to go make $15 an hour, I mean, I'm taking half a pay cut. But I'm gonna do it because that's what I want to fucking do.
That's crazy. $15 an hour for a fire gig is nuts to me.
I mean, yeah, it's insane.
That's Tulsa?
Well, I don't know about Tulsa Fire in general, but I know if I went to go work for SkyTech, I think my starting out pay would be like, I think $14.90, $15.20, something.
That's
like that.
crazy. Yeah. Well, I guess Oklahoma, you don't have property tax, so I mean, I guess.
Oh yeah, we do.
Oh, do y'all? I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Oh wait, Texas doesn't have property tax. Oklahoma does.
You guys don't have sales taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard, man.
Insane, by the way.
Yeah, that's hard.
All right, well, I know you got to get out of here, so I'm going to close it out. If you want to stay on for maybe just a minute after we close this out and stop recording, I got one question for you afterwards, just privately.
Oh, you're chilling, bro. I'm good.
Well, Sheridan, this has been a powerful conversation from leadership at a young age to mastering the craft and giving back through education. Your commitment to serving both public and the next generation of firefighter medics is exactly what the profession needs more of. Thank you for your time, your experience, and your perspective. And to everyone listening, stay sharp, take care of your people, and remember, the world's dangerous out there. If you're not safe, I'll see you soon, and I'll see you on the next one.
Dispatch, medic 1, show medic 1 en route.